All right. Welcome everyone to the Jukebox Show. I'm your host, Josh in real life. I got my podcast partner up in here. Yo, why don't you introduce yourself?
DJ Larry King live. What's going on?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been doing these reviews, but I'm back and I brought a friend. So today we are going to talk about Jeezy's I Might Forgive, But I Don't Forget. This album came out this past Friday, November 4th. And hey, let's get into it, man. Hey, DJ Larry King Live, tell me what you think about the album.
You know what? I thought it was a cool, solid album, man. It was one of those. I don't. I think this is one of the second albums that Jeezy kind of poured his heart into, and it seemed like he had something to say with this one. I mean, we knew he was going through the divorce, which that was kind of weird that he even married her in the first place. No disrespect. Then listening to it, man, it seemed like he had a lot of stuff to say about a lot of his partners in the past and how they, went about, talking about him and things that they tried to come at him with as far as the street life. So he,
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Before we segue into that topic, I do want to um, note some of the producers who are on this project. So he has production by Justice League,
mm,
Ricky Polo, Hendrix, and ATL Jacob.
mm,
And while we talking about the music, first I got to tell you this. I think this is maybe Jeezy's second best album ever. Like I was looking back at his catalog and I'm thinking this is at least his best project of the last 10 years. Maybe
yeah.
five. I know some people like Church in the Streets. I think that this project is a little better than Church in the Streets.
It's
But
longer for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's and I gotta be real too. Kind of stopped listening to Jeezy a little bit over the years. Like some
yeah.
of his mixtapes were coming out, and I'm like, oh, he got a song here or there, but like I haven't heard a whole project where I listened to three or four tracks, and I'm thinking, wow, this sounds good. But this album right here,
Mm,
yeah, he
yeah,
was on it. He was on it. But this is what I want to talk about with some of the producers. The producers, they really killed it. But and I don't want to say that any producers did better than the others, but hearing Jeezy rap over Justice League, I feel like that was like a match made in heaven. For
mm,
those who aren't familiar with Justice League, those are the producers who produced like some of Rick Ross's best albums. They produced the Triller album. They produced Deeper Than Rap album. A lot of those, Maybach part one, two, three, four, and five songs that he's had on his albums. The Justice League has done those beats. So just to hear, you know, that sound with Jeezy rapping over it, it just sounds like something that should have been happening,
yeah.
for a long time. But
And that's one of the
no,
good
I
things
go
about it,
ahead.
man. He brought it back. I
Yeah,
mean, one thing older rappers tend to do, and I think Jay Z was pretty good with it, man. They tend to float away from their original style, but then they try to be. Sometimes they try to be too modern and get away
hmm
from their sound. And it seemed like Jeezy kind of brought a modern feel, but he brought it back to his sound. You know what I'm saying? It was when you think of 808 Jacobs and you think of the Justice League. They heard Shawty Red. You know what I'm saying?
yep,
They
yep,
heard the original Trap or Die that made him Jeezy, made him the
yep,
snowman. So
yep.
they gave him a little bit of that feel. So you heard him, his ad libs was hitting again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And before we segue, and talk about some of the more deeper parts of this album, when I do album reviews, typically give like what I believe to be standout songs. Like I always say, hey, these are some of my favorite songs off the album. With this album, I can't do that because I think if it's not a front to backer, it's pretty close.
Mhm.
Like so, it's a double album. So on the I Might Forgive side, I'm not gonna name the songs, but there's about three songs on that first side that I like a little less. But it's not because he ain't bringing it. It's not because the beats aren't nice. It's just because for me the album starts off so hard like that. I might forgive, but I don't forget. And then that song, My Name, and then No Complaining, like it just starts off so hard that it's like a three-song, and I won't even say the names because those songs ain't whack. Somebody gonna be in the comments like, man, those are the hardest songs. But
Yeah.
uh but then how he ends that side. So man, what are some of those songs? So man, hold on, I got this. So how he ends it with like, if I'm being honest, and don't cheat, and this too shall pass. Like, I mean, he ends that side just as hard as he started it. So uh yeah, it's crazy. And then the but I don't forget side. I mean, man, he just picks up right where he left off with delusional and nothing to prove. I mean, my goodness, this is fire.
And
But go ahead.
delusional was a real one. I mean, he had the whole breakdown. One of the songs, I think it was right before delusional. If it wasn't delusional, it was like he had the actual court proceedings. Like he had him talking on stand, saying, "Hey man, I passed these
Yeah.
bricks off to Jeezy. Who's Jeezy? He's a well-known rapper." I'm like, man,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. But there is a song. If I gotta say there's a song that I like more than anything else, it's not the best song on the album, but that song "Don't Let Up." It's like it's towards the end of the album. It's like an inspirational song. He's still talking this. He's still talking this hustler talk. But I haven't heard Jeezy sound like that. So maybe he been putting out songs like this over the last 10, 12 years. But that was I was pleasantly surprised to hear Jeezy make a song like "Don't Let Up." It's an inspirational song without it being corny.
yeah,
So
yep,
um yeah, man, I can't give my favorites. It's too many songs in there that are good. So yesterday I went running. I had it on playing. I'm like, man, this sounds dope. But
yeah.
I would give it a 5 out of 5. What would you give it out of 5 out of 5 stars?
Out of 5 stars, I can give it. I can give it about 4. I
Or
can give it
yeah,
about
yeah,
4.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Was there any? I mean, I don't want to say critique, but was there anything that you didn't like, or that you maybe expected to hear that you didn't hear?
One thing the one thing I will say about the album that I didn't really care too much for, and it wasn't that big of a deal, is he used the length of the album because he had a lot to say, but it was almost like a lot of the tracks were kind of starting to sound kind of repetitive in his feelings. You know what I'm saying? So like, he wanted to hit home a lot of points, but he had already touched on them. You know what I'm saying? So it was just another song where he was just kind of making the same type of song
Yeah,
again, but it was just touching a lot of the same points.
yeah. Hey, oh, go ahead, go ahead. I
I,
didn't mean to
I
cut
was
you off.
about to say, I mean, not to switch over to another artist, but like you had people like Kendrick Lamar who did kind of the same thing like in his last album, but sometimes Kanye had it kind of on point, man. Sometimes short or sweet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, you could tell he had a lot to say, so he was trying to get all that out, and it's been a while, ever since his last one. But
hmm
yeah, no, he did well, man. He did really good. It'd have been interesting if he could have got Gucci on there.
you know what? I don't see where he had any features. I think
Yeah,
I don't recall. I'd have to look at it, but
that's how you know
I've
it's
heard.
personal.
Yeah, yeah. Like there was no, and I mean he had some background singers here or there, but no one else was rapping on there. But
hmm
yeah, but let's segue. Sound like there was some things he needed to get off his chest. Like what were you thinking about? Some of the storylines of this album.
Yeah, man. I mean, it just goes to show his growth within the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like when he came out with Thug Motivation, everything was about everything that he did, the rumblings in the streets, and how much money he was getting, and how the streets kind of laid him. And then you got a record like this that shows the downside of the streets between the snitching, the 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 coldness of the streets, where people trying to pull you in, they want you to be miserable because they're miserable. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? You can't win in the streets, and realistically, he's one of the people that won in the streets. You know what I'm saying? He was able to get in, get out without going to the pen. People
yeah,
don't like that. You know what I'm saying? They say they want you to do that, but realistically, when you go through, if I they don't understand why you're out there and I'm in here.
yeah. It's crazy. There's the whole BMF series is
Mm,
going on, and people are watching it, and you see that there were folks that allegedly it seems tried to pull him into the case.
mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. It's like he's free, but a lot of those people that were in the streets, to your point, they are locked up. But so he, he does seem to be talking about some specific people on this album, and I don't know those relationships. I've seen interviews of people, former artists, former assistants, former business partners, kind of giving their experience about working with Jeezy, and how things have gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know those situations. I don't even really want to speak on the validity,
Mm-hmm.
but those people all seem genuine. Like it all sounds like when they're telling the story about Jeezy, it all seems like it's coming down to the same thing, that
Yeah.
you know you know something was rotten. Something wasn't right,
Yeah.
and
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, man. I mean, this is just. I think this is just the just me thinking, just the natural way of growing and progression. Man, you gotta think about it, man. A lot of people who are in the streets, they deal with a lot of things when they're young. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, yeah,
with being in the streets at a young age, maturity is still a big thing.
yeah,
Your moves ain't gonna be perfect. You know what I'm saying? The one thing they're gonna tell you is don't snitch. But being in the streets, and he showed it with his music. People still got egos. People still got feelings. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
People going to approach stuff because at the end of the day, you still in a work environment. You know what I'm saying? The difference
yeah,
between corporate and the streets is just you putting on a tie and going into a building. In the corporate world, in the streets, you just putting on some jeans and some chucks or whatever you putting on. You just hitting, but you still got to deal with different people's personalities. You still got to deal with different people and the way they want work done or whatnot like that. And it just proves, man. I mean, it's hard to manage that. And then when the discrepancy comes, or when stuff hits the fan, not everybody's gonna like your management styles. And it proved, you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he did everything on the up and up, but like I know, man. I mean, even in the workplace, not everybody's gonna do something that's fair. They're gonna do what they need to get done for for production.
yeah. And you know something. This is like a lesson. Again, we're grown men. We're talking about other grown men, but we're talking about how they may have felt since they were younger,
Mm,
like kids and stuff. But something, like a lesson that I hope listeners get from listening to this album is one: nobody owes you shit. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like nobody owes you shit. Like if you grow up in a neighborhood and it's that one star basketball player, like he made it to the league. Like
mm,
you all didn't make it to the league. He made it to the league. Now he may put you in position to find a job, or make a way for yourself. He may, or he may not.
mm,
I, listen to this album. It kind of takes me back to someone who, and I don't want to say names, someone who we both worked for. We were in Ohio,
mm,
and I remember, who I'm talking about, and I
mm,
remember different people used to get upset about maybe how much they were getting paid, or
mm,
like what their piece of the pie is. And I was thinking, hey, you know what? When business was going good, everybody was getting paid. When
mm,
business was going bad, everybody was getting paid. And
Mm,
it's just like if you don't own, or if if you're not the star player, like you don't set the terms. But again, I don't want to talk about the people who have grievances with Jeezy, because I believe all of their stories, to be honest.
mm,
But just like a lesson that you all have to learn is like, look, man, there ain't no there's no loyalty in the streets, for one. And man, nobody owes you shit, man. Like you gotta get your own.
yeah, I mean, especially when it comes to money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody owes you. The streets don't owe you. Life don't owe you. You know, you gotta work to eat. You know what I'm saying? And if one of the biggest things, and listening to a lot of things in the streets, the 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 songs glorify the money and the activity, but man, a lot of people are young when they're in the streets, man. So they look at it as like the streets is their family, is the streets is what
Yeah.
made them. But this ain't your family. This ain't what made you, man. It's literally dirty money, a dirty game, and
Facts.
at the end of the day, somebody's going to get burnt. The question
Yeah.
is it going to be you or is it going to be them?
Yeah. And sometimes people bond through like trauma.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, you know what? I'm broke. You know, my homeboy broke. We both hustling. We gonna hustle. We gonna figure out a way to make some money. And then after you make some money, you're not broke anymore. And you may
Mm-hmm.
realize that, hey, really all you had in common with this person was that y'all was both broke. Y'all was both from the same neighborhood, and y'all both had like a hustler mentality. But that was it.
Yeah.
So
That's that's
times
huge.
change.
That's huge. I mean, super huge. Cause yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, when it comes down to your partners, or when you come down to your coworkers or whatever, um, sometimes when you take a scale back, or when you achieve success or a level of success, yeah, you realize, man, we might not have anything in common. We might not even like each other, but we just,
Yeah. Yeah.
we just did what we did. You know what I'm saying?
Man, and I got I lived all over Ohio. I got childhood friends that all we can talk about is like childhood stuff. Like so
Hmm.
much life has happened. So many different experiences, ups, downs, good or bad. But it's like they weren't there because once I got out of that situation,
Hmm.
some people were still my friends and some people weren't. And the people who weren't my friends, we're still cool. I still love them. They're still like my brothers. But
Hmm.
life goes on. So man, it's to me. I really hope that like grown men. And I'm just speaking to fellas, that grown men hear the album. They understand that, like, look, it's just like any other relationship. How someone feels about you today may not be how they feel about you tomorrow. And
Hmm.
if you're not the cash cow, if you're not the person with the talent, you gotta appreciate it for what it is.
Yep. And you just gotta make sure that you can do your part to, you know, invest and make the cash cow grow. I mean, whether that means you watering a plant, or maybe it even mean you falling back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's just what it is when it comes to business. So
no
you know,
doubt, no doubt. But shoot, man, well, leave it at that. Anything else you want to say about the album?
no, it's good album. I think he did his thing. Good job, Jeezy.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, y'all. Let us know what y'all think about the album in the comments. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Josh in real life,
PJ Larry King
DJ.
Live.
All right, let's go.
You know.